Hey, welcome back to Elite Tech Club, where we turn confusing code into crystal clear concepts. Today, we are diving into one of the most important building blocks in JavaScript, objects. And don't worry, we are gonna keep it super simple and fun. What if I told you that objects in JavaScript are like real-life objects? A dog, a car, a YouTube channel, yep, even this one, all can be described using objects. But wait, if variables store just one value, how do we store a bunch of related info, like a name, age, or a favorite emoji in one place? That's exactly where objects come in. And once you get them, JavaScript starts making a lot more sense. Let's unlock this together. What is an object? An object is a collection of key value pairs. It's like a little data package. You give it a name, and inside it holds related properties. Cool. So here in my script file, I would like to store the information of a person. First, without using objects, so using just primitive types that we learned so far. I'll start with name, Daniel, then another one for age, which is 35, for example. Then also let's have a Boolean value, which says whether it is a developer or not. We set it to true. So here, without using an object, it's like this. And as you see, there's no connection between these variables. They're completely, independent. But when we use objects, we can declare a variable, for example, person, and then using curly braces and a collection of key value pairs, we can define the exact same thing, but this time there's a connection between these two because they're all related to the same person. So your name, and then use column, and we have Daniel. We separate these key value pairs using comma. Age is 35, and is developer is true. So here, as you see, inside of the object, we don't use equal sign, we use colon. And here you see that we have this key, which is actually the label, and then the value. Want to grab just the name from that object? Easy. Here, I'll type in console.log, and then the object's name, person, dot, and after pressing dot, I'll have access to all of the properties of that object. So here, I'll select name, and then I'll save the file. And here on the blank page, I'll right click and click on inspect, and then go to the console tab. Here you see that Daniel is printed. As an alternative, we can also use square brackets. So here I'll type in the variable name or the object's name, and then we can use square brackets and then the name of that property or that label. So type in name, and then I'll save it. And here you see that this time, using square brackets, we can get access to the property of the object. Dot notation is the most common, but square brackets are super handy when the key is dynamic or comes from a variable. Need to update or add more info? No problem. Here I would like to update the age. So type in person dot age equals to 30, for example. Also, I would like to add more info. So person dot country, which is a completely new property, is England. And then I'll save the file here. If I print the age, person dot age, here you see that the updated property will be printed. Also, I can have access to the new property, so console.log person.country. And here you see England. Now our person object is even smarter. It's growing, just like you are. Let's imagine we are building a simple app for managing books. Each book could be an object. So here I'll scroll down a bit and then I'll declare a new constant, const book, curly braces, and book has a title, War and Peace, and an author. Author is Leo Tolstoy. Then number of pages, which is about 1300, and the last one is available, to also include a boolean, which is true. Now you've got a neat package of info about that book, ready to use in your app. You can also have nested objects. In other words, objects can contain other objects, like this. So here I'll comment out these lines and I'll declare a constant user, which is an object. Inside, we have the name as a first property, Alex, for example, and then we can add phone number, which is 123456, and email, which is alex@xyz.com. But since phone number and email are both contact info, we can replace it using another object. Here we can add a property, contact info, which is also an object. And here you can grab these two and place them inside of this newly created object inside of the user object. We can save that, and here, in order to get access to those properties in the nested object, we can still use the dot notation. So console.log user.contactinfo dot, for example, phone number. And I'll save the file, and here you see the phone number. Why objects matter? In real apps, almost everything is made of objects. APIs return data in object format. Web apps store user info in objects. Even browsers give you objects to play with, like window and document. Once you master objects, you'll be able to model real-world stuff in code with ease. Mini challenge time. Create an object called movie that includes title, director, release year, and a boolean called isWatched. Log the object in the console. Post your object in the comments. I'd love to see what you come up with. And that's it! You've just unlocked the world of JavaScript objects. If you learned something new today, smash that like button, subscribe for more bite-sized JavaScript videos, and turn on the bell so you'll never miss an upload. Up next, we are going even deeper, arrays in JavaScript. Thanks for hanging out at Elite Tech Club. See you in the next one.